I started the brand, I spoke to like 30 or 40 R like chemists. They all told me I was crazy and that they're like, you can't do this. And I was like, well, it needs to be done. And we need to kind of maybe.
Welcome to the My Wife Quit Her Job podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to have a student in my Create a Profitable Online Store course on the show, Cristina Brooks Potts. Now, Cristina is someone who joined back in 2021. We spoke over Zoom, and then off she went, working hard for the next 4 years on her business, AuthenticEgo.com. Now, Authentic Ego is a skincare company that provides safe, evidence-backed formulas for hormonal, sensitive, and acne-prone skin. She launched in 2023. She's had some crazy growth since then, so much so that she has attracted the interest from venture capital. Now, I don't believe that I've ever had a student on the podcast selling skincare products before, so I am really excited to hear Christina's story. And with that, welcome to the show, Cristina. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be talking to you again, Steve. It's like, it feels like it was literally yesterday, and I don't know where the last 4 years of my life went, but I'm so excited to catch up.
It's funny, yeah. I think I spoke to you during the pandemic, right? On
Yeah.
lockdown. Yeah.
It was like near the tail end of it, but like I had some, wasn't going out much. So I was like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna start it now.
Yeah.
Now is the
Totally.
time. Yeah.
So I am very curious. How did you come up with the idea of selling a beauty brand
Mm.
and specifically focusing on acne prone skin?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I came up with this idea literally like 15 years ago.
Oh,
So yeah, I was really young. I was like 22. I was working at Sephora in downtown Toronto at the Eaton Center, which is like one of the busiest Sephoras in the world. And I worked in skincare because I was always like that nerdy person who like loved ingredients and like I was always reading labels and stuff. And I wasn't so interested in like, working at the front of the store, but I noticed like a trend of women coming in, and this is a problem I eventually developed myself, women coming in their late 20s, early 30s with that second resurgence of hormonal acne, right? So like we all get acne as a teen, it kind of goes away, but for so many women, like most women, more than half of us, it comes back, right? And I just saw a real gap in the offerings of skincare because women will come in and like, they, not only are you concerned with acne in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s too, because we have customers in our 50s, you're concerned with aging, fine lines, hyperpigmentation, hydration, dehydration. And a lot of women are developing, concurrent sensitivity. So like we're talking rosacea, eczema, perioral dermatitis,
yeah.
fungal acne, aka malassezia folliculitis, that kind of thing. So I just noticed that there wasn't really anything that tailored to women, and we're kind of left, you know, with nothing to use. Because all of the acne targeted products are very much like one note active. So like benzoyl peroxide, salicylic acid, like
Yeah.
let's exfoliate, let's kill bacteria. But a lot of times those products even have ingredients in them that, are not great for acne prone skin. And that's based on like just the physiological processes that go on behind, the acne development process. And like, it's super technical. And like,
Sure.
I eventually like had a, pharma and science background. So I was able to really go deep into it and then really develop this. But that's how I came up with the idea. I just saw a gap in the market. And then like, 15 years later, the gap still hasn't been filled. So I was like, I need to do this. So
So
that's where it came from.
your background is in biochemical engineering, or?
No, not biochemical engineering. So, I had an undergrad in political science and law, but, after that, I really got into wanting to work in, pharmaceuticals, like
Okay.
drugs, right? So in Canada, there's this license you take, and it's like a 2-year course, and it's like university level, and it's professional accreditation in anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, and pharmacology. So I took that, right? So I developed a really, really deep understanding of, like drugs and molecules and all that kind of stuff, and just like, processes in the skin at a deeper level, because I learned a lot at Sephora, but like this was like next level deep, and I
Okay.
really honed my research skills there. So that's how I was able to really bring it to life and like use my, my research background and to develop the formulas myself.
Okay. Yeah. So how does one even go about creating a skin cream? Like, what were
Right.
your steps? Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, the way it works for most companies is there's basically two buckets. There's of skincare. There's marketing led skincare and there's R&D led skincare. So, marketing led skincare is when someone will come up with an idea for a brand based on a vibe, and it's like I want a fun skincare brand that reflects our personality and fun and like late nights and all this stuff. That's most skincare brands.
Uh-huh.
Then they'll go to a third party manufacturer or contract manufacturer and say, I want a cream that, these are the claims we're gonna make. And they'll just like basically give you a formula that's already existing and then they'll just throw in some actives. Right? So you're not really getting
Throw in some,
any
sorry, what? Throw in some actives?
actives. Yeah, like
What does
active
that mean?
ingredients.
Okay.
Yeah, so active ingredients, we're talking about things that, like, if you go on Google Trends, a lot of brands start there. They're like, oh, what ingredients are trending? What can we use to, like, increase our SEO? Right? So people
I
will
see.
find us, right? So it's
Okay.
very, very backwards in terms of it's not really starting with a problem, it's starting with a trend. Um, and customers are really becoming aware of that, and it's super annoying because you start to see all of these brands that look very different, but when you actually try them, they're all 99% the same, and they're not
Hmm.
really addressing any real concerns. Um,
Well, all those celebrity brands that you see out there really are just formulations of what's already out there, and then they put their own marketing spin on it.
Yeah, for the
Right.
most
Okay.
part. Yeah,
Okay.
or they could hire a private R&D chemist to say, "Oh, we want something unique," but it's not really problem solution focused, and that's where a lot of brands fall short.
Okay.
On the flip side, and this is what we do, and this is what I really focused on, is being problem solution focused. So really identifying like what are the key drivers of early drivers of acne development. What ingredients do we have that already exist that we can use to treat them? And then coming up with a formula based around that will solve those problems.
Okay.
So that process is very research intensive. It takes a lot of time. And if the person developing it doesn't have a research or science background, they would have to outsource it to like a scientist, an R&D scientist or chemist,
Okay.
who a lot of times has like a classically trained background. So they have those preconceived notions of what should and shouldn't be used. So it kind of stifles innovation in my opinion. So that's like where we've been a little bit different is I'm the one actually coming up with the formulas and all the active ingredients based on research.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that imply like you have a little lab somewhere where you're testing everything and mixing everything yourself, or?
No. So basically what I do is I do all the preliminary R&D and I'll come up with all the list of actives, all the emulsifiers, all the preservatives, basically the recipe for what we're going to use.
Okay.
And then I have a chemist that I work with, and she's like a true actual like she has a biochemistry background that I work with, who then builds that recipe in the lab. And we have a lab in California, so she is like independent. She's not one of those big like. There's basically these like I don't know, like kind of like mass market contract manufacturers where they're
Hmm.
like just really concerned about churning out products quickly and they'll offer you all of their items to white label. This woman is really just building my recipe and kind of operationalizing it instead of, going with something that's already made. So I work with her really, really closely. So she's the one actually with the lab, and we like troubleshoot together.
Okay. How did you find this person, or was she a friend of yours, or did you have contact?
No, so it's interesting when I started the brand, I spoke to like 30 or 40 are like chemists, right? They all told me I was crazy and that they're like, you can't do this because,
Right.
like it's just not like the ingredients you don't want to use. It's too restrictive. It's not feasible. And I was like, well, it needs to be done. And we need to kind of maybe change the way we think about what ingredients we use in skincare for acne prone skin. And a lot of them just said no because it makes, when you challenge the status quo, it makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It really makes people uncomfortable and they just reject it, right? Because they're like, who are you to say this? I'm like, well, here's my research. Like, here's the science. It makes sense. Um, but, this woman has been in the industry for like the woman I work with for like over 40 years. super
Wow. Okay.
experienced, and she was like, I love this. She's like, this is exciting. She's like, this is really neat. She's like, this makes sense because she has a really deep background in chemistry, and like biomedical sciences. So she has a deep understanding as well. And she's like, it's so cool that you're doing this. I'd love to like work with you. So I'm so lucky because she's one of those people who in the past has worked with, really, really big brands, right?
Okay.
Um, if you want to start a skincare brand, it can be very difficult to find a manufacturer because a lot of them don't really give you the time of day because you're starting out small, right? You're going to be
Sure.
doing product runs of 1,000, not 10,000. So they're just like not interested, right?
So is this chemist the one putting together she put together your sampling quantities in the beginning too?
Sorry?
Is she just the formulator and you had someone else manufacture,
Yeah, no,
or is
she
she both?
she actually has her own like little manufacturing team. So
Oh,
she has
okay.
like a small team, and I really like her because she's very responsive, and like they're not like a big company, right?
Right.
So she manufactures and fills as well. So I send over our bottles and our packaging from Korea, and they fill it and they pack it and send it to our warehouse in Texas.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. And then you just found this person just from Googling or just doing your own research?
Intense Googling, like
Okay.
forensic Googling for it took a few months. I don't even remember how I found her. I just was like, this was before ChatGPT, so I'm like, how did I do anything before that tool existed? And it was just like days of forensic Googling, I used to call it, right? Like that's how
Yeah.
I found her, like on page 4 of Google search results. Because these people don't have good websites. Like
Right.
I find the best people in the industry, they don't have a good website because they don't even need one.
Right.
So they're so hard to find, right? It's the ones who like, I think they're kind of dicey and they want your business. They have this beautiful, flashy site with all these things, right, in that industry. So I always look for the hidden
Sure.
gems.
So, realistically, how much did it cost you to just start this entire idea? I imagine there's a lot of upfront costs.
Yeah, so it is quite high because like the just buying inventory and skincare and doing product runs is very capital intensive.
Sure.
So I think the total cost, I cashed out my retirement, I cashed out my life savings. I was working, in, like high level, like consulting tech sales. So I took all those savings and invested it. In total, it was like 80,000 US to get
Okay.
started.
This includes like the formulation and
Yep.
getting that first batch.
That includes getting the first 2 products out. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And doing like a small run, like of a thousand units.
Hey, just a quick heads up. Tickets for my annual e-commerce conference, the Seller Summit, are now on sale over at sellersummit.com. If you run an e-commerce business selling physical products, this event was built for you. Unlike typical events filled with broad advice and feel-good stories, the Seller Summit is all about real strategies you can actually use. Every speaker I invite is deep in the trenches, running their own store and dealing with the same challenges you face every single day. Now, we keep the event intentionally small, just 200 people, so it stays intimate, and you actually get time to connect, ask questions, and have meaningful conversations. I've sold out every single year for the past 9 years. And if your store is already doing over $250K or $1 million in revenue, we also run a private mastermind with other top sellers in the space. You can learn more and grab your ticket over at sellersummit.com. Now back to the show. So this is a pretty big bet for you.
Yeah.
How did you know that it was going to do well?
Yeah, so before I really pulled the trigger on this idea, I'd say about 2 years of market research.
Okay.
And I primarily use Reddit. I think Reddit is like the best untouched corner of the internet, because it's just like people are so real on there, and you have all these niche independent communities, and you really can get a really, really deep understanding. If you take the time to read through posts every day, you can build an amazing business around problems people are having, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just, I joined all the fungal acne subreddit, skincare addiction, to get a deeper understanding of like what those specific problems were. Even though I had an idea from working in beauty, working in Sephora, and then later experiencing the problem myself,
Right.
Reddit was really where I turned to. And like, I was on there as just like, a civilian, not as a brand,
Civilian.
with
Uh,
the with
yeah.
an account, like asking questions. It's like, what bothers you about skincare? What do you wish was better for acne prone skincare? And that's how I came up with the whole premise of, like how I would position the brand, right? And it worked really well. Yeah.
Let me ask you this then. Did you take any pre-sales? Like, how did you know that it was going to do? Like, how did you take that leap of faith to drop 80K? Did you have pre-orders? Any like
No,
an email list of interested parties or anything
no,
like that?
I had
No.
nothing. No,
Okay.
so I was one of those people, and it did scare me a bit because a lot of people like they build a community, then they launch a brand.
Yeah.
It's like super common. I had none of that. Like I don't even really have social media. I'm kind of one of those people who's kind of off the grid. Like I just set up my own personal account. So I didn't do pre-sales, I didn't do wait lists, I didn't do any of that stuff. I just launched, right? And I focused on having good on-page SEO.
Right.
Um, and people just found us, and then it just kind of spiraled organically, really.
That is so interesting because the students in my class that sell, I would consider this a very competitive niche, what you're in,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Uh,
probably the worst business to go into for competition because it's just everyone has a skincare brand, including Brad Pitt. Like,
oh, Brad Pitt has one too. I did not know that.
dude, what are you
Okay.
doing? Yeah,
Yeah, come to think of it, there is one other student in the class that I know of at least that sells like some lip gloss or whatever, and
right.
I'm pretty sure she just went to one of those companies that just do private label, and then
Yes.
just you pick and choose what you want, and then
Yeah.
they make it for you.
Yeah.
Everything is manufactured in the United States, right? This is not
Yes.
something that you would ever consider making in like China, for example. Is that
No.
accurate?
No.
Okay.
And so what's really important and what's key in this industry is a lot of brands, and this has become an issue with the tariff situation. Um, a lot of brands are actually manufacturing their skincare over in Korea.
Hmm.
So, and they're working with these big Korean contract manufacturers. It's very cost effective over there because it's hyper competitive. They have the best economies of scale in the world. But one thing I've always been wary of because I'm a paranoid person is owning my IP to my product, right?
Right.
And also as a student of political science, I'm always scared of tariffs. That's why I set up my boxes and my bottles coming from Korea from day one because I don't know, I kind of like saw the writing on the wall with the political situation.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, like the issue now is brands don't own their IP, and it's too expensive to import into the US now from Korea. Like, I mean, it's better now because Mr. D
Well, it
lowered
changes
it.
every day, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he lowered it a bit, but like, who knows tomorrow, right?
Right.
But owning your IP is super, super important. What'll happen when you go to a lot of big labs is they won't give you the IP. So if you want to go somewhere else, you can't. You're stuck with them, which to me is like really bad business practice, anti-competitive. I mean, if you're not making your own formula, it makes sense that they would own it because it is theirs, right?
Uh-huh.
If you're just white labeling, like you can't own that
Sure,
recipe
of
because you didn't
course.
come up with it. But if you're paying a lab, if I was to give advice to anyone, if you're paying a lab to make you something net new, then you need to own it, right? And the bio rights shouldn't be crazy, you
So
know?
how do you protect your IP? Do you have a patent or anything like that, or how does it work?
Yeah, no, so I don't have a patent. I mean, a patent is something we could potentially pursue. I know it would be heinously expensive, so I'm kind of holding off on that.
Sure.
But like the IP is really, a lot of it's in my head. There's a huge list of things that we don't use that other brands aren't really tapped into, and it's based on, the research that I've, developed over the last few years.
Hmm.
So it's kind of hard for people to copy what we do because they just don't know the underlying basically blueprint of why I choose
Sure.
what I do.
Right.
Um, and we also, I mean, in terms of like our protectable IP, we also, we formulate based on, 4 principles of early acne development, which are oxidative stress, lipid peroxidation, microbiome dysbiosis, and inflammation, whereas other brands are formulating with exfoliation, killing bacteria,
Right.
right? Um, it it's something that I don't know, brands don't seem interested in doing because they just want to, perpetuate the status quo. And I'm like, I feel like we're the first brand to really challenge that, and you know, that's why we've had such a positive response.
When you create a product like this, do you need any certifications or anything from the government to sell it, or can you just
Right.
can anyone just create a formula and just start selling it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, I mean, with the FDA, there's monograph acne actives as per the FDA. We don't use any of those, not because they're bad per se, but I just feel like the science is moving forward, and as we know, the FDA doesn't. I don't know what they do, but they're not really working. They haven't approved a sunscreen, in over a sunscreen filter in over 40 years, right? But in terms of like, do we need a certification? No, it's still considered a cosmetic. And the only
Okay.
caveat is that, on our product page, we have to be mindful of the claims we make, right? So
Right.
even though, we're really targeting and supporting acne prone skin, we can't make claims like treats acne at the root, just makes acne disappear in 12 hours. You just have to be reasonable about the claims you make.
Okay.
The FDA really goes after people who make egregious claims. And last I checked, they haven't gone after anyone in like over 10 years. So you just have to be like respectful, right? And
I'm sure the department got downsized in the
yeah,
latest.
I don't think they exist anymore. They seem to be defunct. I think the last time they sent out a warning letter was the Obama administration.
Okay.
And that was for like really egregious stuff, like, melts fat in 12 hours, like just like crazy stuff that
Sure.
is just really not true. But no, it's considered a cosmetic. Like my goal though, when we get funding is to start doing clinicals, which are
Okay.
just super, super expensive to help strengthen our evidence base of what we're doing and how it works and how effective it is. Like right now, that's
So
not feasible, but yeah.
like a huge study, clinical trial, you mean, right?
Yeah, I mean, not a clinical trial in that we would be, pursuing like a new drug application for like the ingredients and to have them monographed by the FDA, because I think that would take probably till I'm like 80 to make its way through the bureaucratic system.
Sure.
But like in terms of like clinical studies, we mean like having like a panel of like 50 people
Got
who
it.
have hormonal acne, and then they're supervised by a clinical team, and we follow them for their starting point, and then we measure them at 30, 60, 90 days, and then we can assess and show the evidence, like photographic, right, objective, not self-reported, because in this industry there's a lot of what are called consumer perception studies, and that's when you go on a page and you see a claim like, oh, 80% of consumers agreed it made their skin more hydrated, or that's like perception. It's like you try a product, you give it to someone for free, of course they're going to say it works.
Sure. Right.
And,
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
it's amazing, right? Because they want to keep getting it. We're not going to do that just because I feel like it's very wishy-washy.
It's deceptive to me. Like,
Yes.
yeah. But anyways,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So you're gonna do it right with the, you know, do it the right way,
Yeah, I want to
objectively.
do it the right way, because consumer perception studies, I'm like, what is this even, right? It's just so people can use numbers,
Yeah.
because numbers sell, right? Like, but you can pull numbers from your reviews, which are far more objective, right?
Sure.
So yeah.
All right. So you drop $80,000
Yeah.
on this without any pre-orders and without any influencers. How does one make sales? I think you mentioned Reddit earlier, and when I Googled your site, like there was a lot of Reddit that came up actually.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'm curious, how did you market this without social media, which would have been,
Yeah.
in my instinct, like the first way you would have done this? But you're right,
Yeah.
you don't do a lot on social media.
Yeah. So honestly, I think it's because the way our core demographic of customer is searching, they're very problem solution based. These are not people who go into Sephora looking for skincare. They're going on the internet, they're going on Reddit. So basically, that first customer who found us left us a review and then went and mentioned us on Reddit. Oh, I found this cool new brand. And then the second customer found us, you know, they told someone else and they added us to, a third party review site like Thing Testing. And then someone added us to Skin Sort. And we got, I think we have like almost 300 backlinks, which I didn't even really know about. Like I just brought on a founding like developer, specialist to the team, and he's like, "Where do you buy all these backlinks?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Right? He's like, "You have so many backlinks." I'm like, I think it's from like just people linking us because they find us and they're so excited, right?
Okay.
So it just really was like truly organic, and I know I wouldn't recommend it because I know the first 30 days we were open, I didn't have a sale. I had no sale the first 30 days we were open, but then it slowly started to trickle in and just build and build and build. So
Okay.
I did also, start to go on TikTok, like as me, the founder. And that really
Okay.
resonated with people just talking about our product over and over, like in a genuine way. And like we built it really like small, but like engaged following, and people talk about us to their friends and other people on forums and stuff, right?
Yeah. So that is a testament to the product that it works,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so I was always wary of being a brand at the beginning that went in really, really heavy and hard with like marketing and PR, because in this industry it's really easy to get that first sale. Like anyone can buy a product once, but they're buying it because the marketing's good, not the product. And I wanted to make sure that I built a brand that's product first, like R&D first, not marketing first. We're not a marketing led brand, even
Right.
though we're gonna start to have some good marketing, not just me talking in my sweatshirt on TikTok.
Actually, I watched a couple of those. They're quite convincing. Like the one where you said, "Hey, you have to buy like 5 products to do what this one
Yeah,
bottle does," right? And then you
yeah,
started listening. Yeah.
that video did really, really well. And like I spent like a couple dollars a day to run that as an ad for like a year, and it just like it went kind of viral, right?
Yeah.
It was really interesting. um, yeah. So I was really, really adamant about, like, at the beginning, no mar it was, I don't know if it's the right decision, but it seems to be working, like, not really focusing on relying on marketing and like vanity metrics and follower count and like
Uh-huh.
PR, and just focusing on like having the best product, because the best product will literally sell itself, right? Um, so that's
If
been
it
my
gets discovered. This is an amazing story. So did you end up doing anything in Reddit? Because I know you can't be promotional on Reddit at all.
right.
S
So I made some posts, like blog posts on Reddit, that were resource guides,
mhm.
really, like for adjacent things, like taking B5 for acne, or using a water filter, or making your own cleansing oil. Those still get a lot of like views, right? So people do find us that way, and I'm gonna start going back on Reddit again, because I got kind of frustrated with it because they launched Reddit ads, which
Yeah.
is not up to snuff in terms of
Okay.
uh so I was like, until you guys can fix these like problems that you have, I don't really want to like participate in like promoting on Reddit. But like we can totally organically post on Reddit. It's an amazing community. You just the problem is like the mods, which can sometimes be mall cops,
Mhm.
on some boards, don't like when brands go on, even when they're trying to be helpful. Like, so say if someone was to mention, like, I got banned from the acne subreddit because someone asked a question about authentic ego, and I went to answer it as authentic ego, thinking I was being helpful, and they just banned me for life.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, from that subreddit. So I can't even post an ad on acne, right? And it's just because a mod on there is having a bad day or likes to feel in control, right? And I can't control that, but
Well, there's whole companies now that market on Reddit for you, right? And so the
yeah,
person asking the question is a plant. And
yes,
then, so I think they're just very
yeah,
sensitive to all that stuff happening
yeah, and
because Google is indexing Reddit now, right? At the
mhm,
top. So,
yeah. I always used to tell people, like, only use Google if you type the word Reddit at the end of what you're typing. Other than that, Google is useless. It's been like that for the last 5 years, right?
yeah. Yeah.
I love Reddit. Like, I think it's the last untouched corner of the internet for sure.
All right, so your expertise seems to lie in creating the product. So I am actually curious, like, what were some of the challenges with creating this? Uh, I know you said it took a long time, but what is it like? Do I create a formula? You try it? Is it scientific in the way you decide whether it works or not? How do
Mhm.
you tweak the formula? Like,
Right,
what's the process like?
right. So yeah, once you come up with I come up with the actives and basically the recipe, I'd have my chemist make it, and she would make a first prototype sample, and then I would get a bunch of it to me, and I would have people I knew, friends, family, neighbors with acne prone skin try it and give me their feedback on like the performance, right? The moisturizer took a little bit longer to finalize because moisturizer is one of those very personal things. But the serum was like a home run from the very beginning. Like, just like I don't think I've ever heard anyone say they don't love the texture performance of it, right? Just because the combo of ingredients is there in there is very, very different from what you see in most products. But yeah, the process is really just trying it on real people who are experiencing that problem, right? And trying to get a good cross section of people to make sure it's good. I mean, and the last step in that is safety testing. So you want to make sure the preservative system is effective over a period of time. It's stable over time, and then you can also do dermatologist testing, which is I think we're going to move away from that because basically what that is you hire a clinical lab and they will, get like 50 volunteers and they'll apply the product for 2 weeks on an occluded patch,
Uh-huh.
right? To make sure no one has a reaction. Well, the thing that brands don't talk about is that they apply it on people's backs. So it doesn't reflect real world use. So
Okay.
when you see, skincare that says dermatologist tested, hypoallergenic, non-acnegenic, they're testing it on someone's back, not their face.
I
And to
see.
me, I'm like, well, like obviously you're not, you're putting it on someone's back. And the volunteers, you can't control their age. And I remember when we did it the first time, I see the volunteers' age, they're like between 60 and 85. Well, like, of course you're not breaking out, right?
Right.
So
Interesting.
we're pulling back all those claims, and we're going to say, we test on people's faces, not their backs, because I think
Mm.
we need more transparency in the industry. Because I'm about to release a TikTok video talking about that, and I know people are going to be shocked. I know I
Interesting.
was, right? You would think
Yeah.
that when you're hiring a lab to test your product, they test it on your face. 9 times out of 10, they're not. They're putting it on someone's back and putting a piece of tape over it.
I would think that they'd be getting people in your target demographic, right? If you want them. That's not an option?
It's hard because these labs have to rely on people to volunteer and apply, and it's a very low paying thing,
Okay.
right? They pay
Right.
them like probably like a couple dollars like for clinical studies. You get a lot of like older retirees looking for supplemental income. It's a pain
Mm.
because you have to go in and have it assessed repeatedly, so it's not like exactly something that would be convenient for someone who's in our
Sure.
target demographic, who's working, who has kids, who's busy. So what we're going to be doing in the future is, I have a panel of people I've built, and I'm going to send them the product to use on their face in real life
Right.
and report back to me, right? To make sure that, they're tolerating it well and it works.
So, Christina, knowing what you know today, I mean, you've gone through the entire process.
Mm-hmm.
What would you have done differently? Like, let's say, actually, just the other day, someone did email me wanting to create their own skincare product.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure what type to classify. I assume it would be like research led and whatnot. What advice would you give someone? Like, if you were to do this all over again, what were some of the mistakes that you made?
I think in the beginning I was very scared of going on social media, and I should have just been doing it really early, just going on like every day, talking about like what I'm building in a way that's customer focused. Like, so for a long time, I had, a conflict that, I see all these founder led brands, especially skincare, beauty, makeup, where it seems to be all about the founder. And I was very obsessed. Well, I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about my customers. Like,
Right.
right. So I shied away from social media, but I didn't realize that I'm really just the conduit to making it about the customers, right? So I
Mhm.
now realize that. Like, I was a bit too black and white in my thinking at the beginning. So I definitely would advise anyone at the beginning, you do have to show up on social media consistently. You do have to practice. You do have to, go on there as often as possible. And it's one of those things where it's easy to not do it because you get so busy doing so many other things, right?
Mhm.
The other thing I would do is, bring on people earlier. So now I have a team of 4 other people I've brought on just like in the last 2 months. I was worried for the longest time that no one would want to join this business,
Sure.
but it turns out like people are really excited. Um, I have an amazing co-founder now, and someone just joined who helped scale Medicate in the past, who sold to L'Oreal for $1 billion, right?
Mhm.
So like people are excited to join the brand, but I think it's just a matter of like being confident, right? I
Sure.
think you get that imposter syndrome and you're like, oh, no one's going to want to join my startup for like equity and no pay.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah. Sure.
But people
Yeah.
get excited by that, right? So
Mhm.
just like understanding that, like if you are solving a real problem, people are going to want to be part of that journey.
And in terms of creating your formulation,
Mhm.
did you feel that 80K was about average, or did you spend more than average? Like, what would be the bare minimum if you wanted to start your own skincare line with a custom formulation?
Um, I mean, per SKU, you're looking at 25,000 US
Okay.
per SKU, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, it really depends on your skill set, what the startup costs are going to be. So if you can like build up your own website, take your own photos on the cheap, which I think is a lot easier now than it was 4 years ago,
Sure, of
you
course.
can do it for way less than what I did. Like, I'm very much like a technical person, like sciencey. I was not like I didn't really even know how to use Instagram.
Right,
I didn't know how to use a Shopify store when I started, so I was paying someone to help me build that out.
right.
But I think like if you want to start your own skincare brand, you're looking at bare minimum 50,000 US.
Okay,
And that's to launch with like 1 to 2 SKUs that are net new, not just a white label, right?
right.
Because there's also the cost of the primary and secondary packaging, the testing, the brokerage fees to get bottles across the ocean, and then you're looking at like your 3PL.
Let me ask you about that actually. Why did you get bottles from Korea?
Um, so I chose to source from Korea because I was concerned at the time about a tariff situation happening. And I know it was 2021 and it was way before it happened, but
Yeah,
I had been following that story for like I follow politics very closely, and I was like, oh, like they're gonna get rid of the de minimis thing, like
yeah.
it's gonna be bad. There's gonna be a trade war. It's like intellectual. Um, so that's why I chose to source from Korea, right? I mean, foolishly, I thought Korea would be exempt from any like tariff like wars, and
Right,
they're not. But I mean, they're at 15% as of today.
right. Which
So
is
it's
way lower than the 55. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So it's not too bad. Um, so I mean, the quality in China is just as good as Korea, right? And like, let's be honest, most components in Korea are sourced from China.
Right.
So in one way or another, stuff comes from China. Most ingredients in skincare come from China. So all the raw material components that make up a formula, I'd say it's like 80% that are actually coming from China.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in terms of finding the suppliers in Korea, how did you find those for your
I just
bottles?
I looked in some industry magazines and trade magazines
Mhm.
online, and just I did like forensic googling again, and I found this not a huge supplier, someone who'd be willing to work with a small startup and do lower MOQs, because
Right.
a lot of the I looked at sourcing domestically. And I just hit a dead end. No one would give me the time of day. They're like, oh, our MOQ is like 50,000 bottles, and it's like, oh my god,
Yeah, yeah,
that's not
right.
gonna happen. So
Yeah.
like this supplier, the MOQ is 5,000, which is very reasonable. It seems high, but like for a bottle that is that great of quality and customized, and has all the matte coating and everything, that's a really good deal. And I built a really good relationship with them. So
What's funny is you did all this stuff when there was no tariffs or nothing from China. Did you look at China at all, or?
I did, but I got samples. So I would always recommend someone to get samples of just the bottles to look at the architecture of how they're made. Like I'm super technical. I have them here. Like I don't want to be that person. And I remember working in Sephora. It's like you get an airless pump and you have to pump it like 50 times for product to come out.
Right.
I was like, I don't want that to be the customer experience. So I would
Right.
get samples from suppliers, and this was the highest quality one I could find, so that's who I went with. And it's a mono
Okay.
material, so it's somewhat recyclable, but compared to things with a metal pump, spring pump.
So, Christina, what lies in the future of Authentic Ego? So, you mentioned perhaps getting funding, doing the clinical testing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have a whole bunch of products in the pipeline,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
okay?
So, I mean, we were approached by a VC a few months ago who was really interested in what we were doing, and I was like so flattered and like honored that they reached out to me and wanted to talk and like build an early relationship because they like, the gap that we're filling, like the white space that needs to be filled in the market. So, they're like, you got to build a team, you got to, 10x your revenue, and then like come back to us. So
Right.
that's essentially my goal.
Right.
How we're going to get there. So I have an amazing team now. I have a co-founder. I have someone who's helping with strategy and growth. We have a creative director. We have someone specializing in like our IT and like back end stuff. But I think in the future, like what we're going to be doing, focusing on in the near future, is Kickstarter, right? So
Interesting.
we
Okay.
we decided we're going to launch a Kickstarter in September. And that's because we need to basically fund more SKU development because there's huge like pent up demand from the customers who are like, I want a cleanser, I want a serum for this, I want a product for this, I want this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's going to take like a lot of capital to finance that inventory,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And like we have such a strong community of backers that we decided like Kickstarter is the best way to go. I mean, another route one could take is like angel investing, but I think because we have like such a strong community and people want to be part of this journey, we're going with Kickstarter. So we're going to be
Okay.
launching that like in the middle of September, and that's going to help us kind of accelerate and exponentially grow over the next 18 months to 24 months. So
Nice.
that's our goal.
Does this product work on teenagers, or is it meant for
Mhm.
adults?
It does work on teenagers. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
a lot of times teenager acne is a little bit more simple in that it's, you have a bit, excess oil production and sebum buildup, and it's not really inflammatory in nature. I do have parents who reach out to me and ask, is continue to use this? Absolutely. It's super gentle. But, I don't specifically market to teenagers just because I guess I'm a mom and I don't want to be targeting to kids and teens. You know what I mean? I just feel like it
Sure.
crosses an ethical line. I
Right.
don't want kids or teens to ever think they need to use something, right? I feel like it's something the parents should help them with. I don't know, maybe I'm a bit old fashioned that way, but we do have like people younger on the younger side using our product. We
I
do.
might pick up a bottle for my daughter. That's
Yeah.
why I'm asking for
Oh
personal
yeah.
reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So,
I'll definitely send you some.
well, Christina, thank you so much for sharing your journey.
Thank you.
It's crazy that we spoke 4 years ago. I
Yeah.
think you joined in 2021 and then you
Hmm.
launched in 2023, which means it took a
Hmm.
full 2 years for you to come up with your formulation, right?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
everything.
And a lot of that was I was working full time
Hmm.
and I was funneling a lot of the money I made in my job to building the business.
Wow.
So I was hustling by day to make commission because I was
Yeah.
working in sales, like enterprise sales at the time, and then like pharma consulting, and then just using it on the back end to fund the business. So yeah, it took a bit longer,
Well,
but
for anyone listening, and it sounds like this is actually a widespread problem. So, for anyone listening, where can people find your products online, and where's the best place to purchase them? You're not on Amazon, right? Is it a
no,
website only store? Okay.
I'm a never Amazon person. Don't get me started on them. So we only sell direct to consumer through our website, AuthenticEgo.com. That's where you can find us. We do have international shipping. That's I try and keep it as affordable as possible. I apologize for the tariffs. I cry every day that they're there. But yeah, just direct on our website, and we have new products coming soon, and we're going to be launching a Kickstarter so people can find us there and follow us. And like I'm always available for to answer any questions people have.
Well, thank you so much, Christina. It's amazing. I love it when things come full circle, and I'm so glad that you agreed to come on this podcast. So
Yeah,
thank
I'm
you.
so happy. Thanks so much, Steve.